Good morning and welcome back to World Talks, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Jastrzębska. US and Iranian negotiators are now in Pakistan ahead of highly anticipated peace talks expected later today. The discussions come at a critical moment with tensions still running high. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Israel and Lebanon are set to hold their own talks. To discuss these developments and their potential implications, I'm joined by Magdalena M, Baran, managing editor, Liberte. Hello and welcome, delighted to have you with us.
Hello, good morning, great to be here again.
So let's start with these negotiations taking place in Pakistan. Traditionally, Qatar used to be the regional mediator. Why this sudden shift?
You know, we observe different negotiations in Qatar, even connected to the war in Ukraine. To be honest, when we look at Pakistan and Pakistan searching for its role in the region, also, let's say, increasing importance of the Pakistan in the region, might be a reason negotiations are there. Also, since some Pakistani cooperate with Iran previously, we may also believe that Iran authorities did not trust the previous negotiators, so maybe it is exactly this move. Also, when we think about the negotiations that are ongoing, we know that right now we have J.D. Vance there from the side of US, but also Kushner and Witkoff, and there were a lot of objectives about Witkoff from Iranian point of view, because Witkoff was exactly the person who was negotiating in a moment when Israel started to bomb Iran. So moving negotiations to Pakistan and openness of Pakistan to be maybe not a leader in this part of the world, but looking for its role in the region might be a step in a good direction, might be also a place of trust for both sides, because from the Iranian side we have the Speaker of the Chief of the Parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, and of course a person who we know pretty well, so Abbas Araghchi, so the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, Chief of the Diplomacy of Iran. So we'll see.
As you mentioned, big names in the American delegation, Kushner, Witkoff, and of course J.D. Vance as the head of the delegation. What are their objectives? What they want to get?
Oh, well, since Donald Trump said, yeah, it was our great victory, and that ceasefire is the great victory of US. And of course, let's say it's not a victory, it's like waving a white flag from a point of view of the world of the European, but also world leaders. And Trump had no choice, to be honest, because he still needs to find a way to finish this war. So finishing this war might be a main objective of American delegacy, even if we heard from Trump and from J.D. Vance that they expect a goodwill of the Iranians. They are not going to bear any more threats from Iran. On the other hand, Donald Trump hasn't achieved aims of his war, because we cannot be sure if he really limited nuclear potential of Iran. And he may say, yeah, we killed the main leaders of Iran authorities, but on the other hand, they kill most of those leaders that they kill wasn't as radical as those who are on power today, because we have that Islamic Revolutionary Court, always forgot the full name of it, Revolutionary Guard Corps. But even if you look at the new chief of security, so Mahat Bakar, he's also a person, Zakhar, he's also a person who was responsible for execution of law in Iranian Ministry of Internal Affairs. So he was exactly a person responsible for most of the deaths of people after the revolutionary protests in December, but also after the protests, after the kill of students. So he's not a peaceful lamp.
Right, and regarding what you said about U.S. objectives, the Wall Street Journal published an article last night saying Iran still has thousands of missiles that it could use by retrieving launchers from underground storage areas. That's apparently according to U.S. intelligence.
Let me just add that, you know, Iran is a huge country, 4 times bigger than Poland, with 90 million people. And most of the country are, you know, mountains. So what they have hidden in those mountains, we still, in fact, don't know. And we must have also in mind that they have missiles able to reach Israel, able to reach other countries in the region, but those are also missiles that cannot be detected by the Iron Dome. So this is a problem.
By all means. Now, I wanted to go to what Donald Trump has said just before the talks started. He said, we have a reset going. We are loading up the ships with the best ammunition, the best weapons ever made, even better than we did previously, and we blew them apart. And if we don't have a deal, we will be using them, and we will be using them very effectively. So, if there is no deal, will we see another escalation in this conflict?
I don't want to be a fortune teller. But let's reverse the question. What the escalation of the conflict would mean for a region, for US, but also for Europe and China and other countries. First, we would have an even deeper economical crisis and crisis with oil and so on. Right now, we know that our holidays are in danger because of the lack of fuel for airplanes. So I believe that they will do everything to avoid the collapse of the negotiations. Also, what Donald Trump can do, not violating even more that he already did, the international humanitarian law. And how long our authorities, I mean the United Nations and other authorities, will keep silent about it. We heard, some of you probably heard, even George Clooney speaking that Donald Trump already committed a war crime, and from a legal point of view, in fact, he did. So his next step and violation of another law, another level of international humanitarian and criminal law might be even more problematic for him when it comes to the elections that U.S. will have this autumn, and elections that might cost him a presidency.
Right, because Trump was elected on a promise of ending all wars. What about Netanyahu? Because he also faces some problems at home.
Just one thing about last thing about Trump, since you mentioned him promising that we'll end all the wars. That's why also he has problems not only with Democrats but also with Republicans and with MAGA, inside MAGA movement, because MAGA movement was exactly were exactly those people who trust Trump and trust all his promises about ending the wars. What about Netanyahu? Netanyahu, who needs to negotiate with Lebanon, as you said, he needs to find a solution. Some time ago, I talked to a colleague who was a Lebanon journalist, Paula Jacobian, and who is a member of Lebanon Parliament right now. And from their point of view, the situation is really complicated, really also because of the humanitarian crisis right now. And let's say what they can do with Hezbollah, what they can do with internal movements that, in fact, government, at least to some extent, has no impact on. And Netanyahu, just this morning I read an article that some people in Israel are even more radical than Netanyahu when it comes to the war with Hezbollah. But he's still in trouble because of his previous, let's say, corruption engagements. So I'm not sure if there is a good solution for him. Especially that we can hear also from US that Trump doesn't trust Israeli as he did before, because it was, and I think it was in New York Times, the article about how Mossad convinced Trump agent J.D. Vance and Hexet to attack, to take part in the war against Iran. Saying that Iran, in fact, is waiting for its freedom, for the revolution, and that Iranian people may help to take a power.
And going back to Israel, some scholars are saying that there's an emergence of a forever war doctrine in Israel because politicians such as Netanyahu need an external enemy. And do you see that shift in Israeli politics, perhaps?
Yeah, the question, the answer will be really quick. Yes, absolutely. Looking for and indicating the enemy is like, you know, in many countries that I polarized, like Poland. Our politicians I really don't like this sentence, Polish war. But yeah, politicians, especially populist politicians and authoritarian politicians, needs to indicate internal or external enemy to stay in power, to find a legitimacy for their govern and to find legitimacy for the actions. And this is exactly what Netanyahu is doing. He was doing it in the case of Gaza. Right now he has Iran as a never-ending enemy, in fact, and I don't see, to be honest, I cannot imagine that he would ever be able to not to point Iran as an enemy, but he has also Lebanon, probably Afghanistan, since Afghanistan promised to support Iran in some actions, and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, this is not only in his case, but in all the authoritarian regimes, they need to find internal, external enemy to legitimize the power.
And on this note, I wanted to go back to Donald Trump before we go. And he vented on Truth Social on Wednesday, saying that NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there if we need them again. Remember Greenland, that big, poorly run piece of ice. What was he trying to achieve with that post? So we need to go back to what he said previously about possibility of U.S. leaving NATO. And then we had Mark Rutte and talks between Mark Rutte, so the Secretary General of NATO, and Donald Trump. And Rutte, because in fact, Donald Trump put it on Truth Social just after this meeting. What we heard from Mark Rutte was that we discuss about fair and open and cooperating alliance. On the other hand, we still need to have in mind those scenarios of what would happen if the U.S. really would decided to leave NATO. First, there is that we know that Trump cannot do it himself, that it cannot be his decision because of the National Defense Authorization Act. So he needs the support of Congress, support of Senate. And even if he would put this on table, it's still more than a year to leave NATO. But of course, he can conduct some actions like moving troops from Germany and Spain, for example, to Poland, to Greece, and to eastern flank.
But there are other scenarios. The first is that NATO could be more European alliance with the support of the United States. Then that NATO could be just a European alliance, and it should focus on its own security and building also that nuclear umbrella. But we have also the so-called dark scenario, so a possibility of an alliance between Russia and the US. We can read it in Le Monde Diplomatique, for example, in French press, that Trump and Putin could make a deal above the heads of the Europeans and other world leaders. So let's keep fingers crossed.
We'll explore this question further some other time, because unfortunately we've run out of time. We have to wrap up here. Magdalena, Baran, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVT World.